Hello, XXX and welcome back to Commission Battle for Normandy, where we continue with the Amiens Tonight campaign. And this is heading into the second mission, which is called Tally Ho. So we have left the 43rd Wessex Division behind us, having secured the bridgehead, more or less, over the Seine at Vernon. And we are now joining 30 Corps, more specifically elements of 30 Corps' right column. And so we're currently working with the 23rd Hussars Armoured Regiment, as well as the 4th King's Shropshire's Light Infantry. Specifically, we have a recce troop of Stuart Light Tanks. We have a regular troop of Sherman 5s. And then we have one almost full platoon from the Shropshire Light Infantry here. We've got two full sections and 1/3 of a section, one detachment there. Probably limited by the fact you can't fit everyone on a truck, would be as my guess is why we don't have the full, but I'm not entirely sure. And we also have the integrated 2-inch mortar support, which you get in the British infantry platoons. And that is it, that's all the forces we have. We have no artillery support, no air support, no reinforcements, at least not as far as the brief is concerned. And what are we doing? Well, it is currently 10 past 8 o'clock at night. Obviously, we are trying to get to Amiens before night falls. So we've been told essentially to motor down this road and get all our forces off map towards this exit march, Cathou. Now, the kind of armoured car scout force has been out in front of us, and although they have not found any significant organised German defence, they have spotted a lot of infantry and potentially some vehicles kind of milling around and heading vaguely east in that kind of general direction, which is pretty terrible intelligence. But that's all we've got to go with. So we don't really know what German forces are up against, apart from that kind of vague outline. So I'm certainly not expecting kind of full formations. I'm hopeful there aren't things like static anti-tank guns. And that we've not had time to get any kind of prepared defence, and we're mainly going to be dealing with maybe infantry, potentially some lighter vehicles, so kind of Panzerschrecks and maybe light tanks or armoured cars are going to be our biggest threat. But who knows what the designers have thrown in. We are not sure. So our objective, we've got hour and 10 on the clock. We've got two touch objectives, which are only worth 25 points, not much. Our main objective is to get everyone off the exit to Cathou, which doesn't actually give us any points, but we need to exit map without taking friendly casualties. There's 250 points on offer for not losing more than a third of our men, which I think has also got to be the main focus. There's also 150 bonus points up for offer. For what? I'm not entirely sure. And then we've got 75 points on offer for destroying German units. So quite an interesting little map here with the valley, obviously road down the middle and a rail line, and then some fairly imposing hills upon either side. So we know there's going to be some kind of German defence in the centre, so my immediate thoughts was, well, let's break out a force and head to the hills. And I suspect that's what we're going to do with some, if not all, of our force. On this, let's say, left-hand hill, there is a track running quite nicely along this ridge line, which takes you all the way and back down and in towards the edge of the objective. And similarly, on the right-hand hill, you got to go a little bit more off-road to get up here, but then is yet another track, which again leads down, again slightly earlier, in towards the town. So there are options for getting up there. As you can hopefully see, it's fairly heavy rainfall, so I am concerned about potentially bogging down. And that's definitely going to be a risk as we go off-road. And yeah, this field is also a bit of a risk. There was a bit of I think a risk and reward. In terms of German positions, well, I think there's an obvious position, potentially some infantry hiding amongst this wood. There's various kind of little hedgerows and not so much in the middle here, but kind of walls where they could potentially have some infantry units dug in behind. And then as we get in towards the very end of the map, I have no doubt there's going to be some Germans ensconced within these houses. So I'll be a little bit careful as we come to clear that out. That being said, it is fairly open. Should get fairly good lines of sight, albeit with terrible weather and failing light. And so my thoughts is I want to get some eyes up at the minute as early as I can, up in this kind of railway berm, for want of a better word, to get some sight down the valley, see if we can identify any German positions, see what we're up against. At the same time, I would like to try and make a fairly big swing to the left, commit most of my forces, run the gauntlet of this ploughed field, and try the gauntlet of using my tanks to smash through walls, which again does not come without risk, and then make our way along this path. And the reason I like this path, a couple of reasons, is one, it does give us some good fire angles into the valley if there's some Germans trying to pick some defensive positions in here. There's a little bit of cover also from the valley in terms of this wall. I did not like the look of this wood. It's a good place to hide people. It's not, and I don't want to go kind of clearing out the woods. But actually, this track is quite nicely hidden from that wood line of sight. So unless they come out and over that hill, we've actually got pretty good defense, should there be anything lurking in there. So I think that's really what I'm going to try and do. We have quite a lot of time on the clock for this. I was expecting, given that it was just kind of get through, get off the map and get out type mission, I was expecting to be a little bit more harassed. We've got a reasonable length of time. So opening moves. Well, here's the thing. If I was being put my game hat on, pure game hat, and trying to, min-max combat mission, I would break out some scouts from my infantry, which, to be fair, I have done. I've got 2 scout teams and I've got a detachment here. And I would get them up onto this berm, probably somewhere over this direction, I think, where there's nothing too close, should they come under some MG fire, and try and build up a bit of a picture before we do anything else. And I'm going to do that to a certain extent, but at the same time, I wanted to at least get an element of maybe more realism into the way we're playing, and I'm probably in part influenced by a book I've just finished listening to, which was Tank Action, which is by a chap called David Render, and it's his essentially autobiographical history of 11 months, I think, of the war, just after D-Day through to the fall of Germany as a troop commander for the Somerset Yeomanry. He commanded a troop of Shermans, and it was quite interesting to hear about his specifics and just the way they waged war. And so you kind of think, well, if you're coming along this road with a recce platoon of Stuarts, you're not just going to sit here and send some poor infantry sodding up the berm to have a look. Let's go take a tanks. And these orders aren't particularly great. I might finesse them before they go on. But let's take some of our scout troop, get in a hull down position, which is what these big red lines are supposedly doing for us, and recce the valley ourselves. And again, the reason I'm being a little more bold here, I suppose, is on a bit of an assumption. We're not going to come up against any static tank defense weapons, anti-tank weapons is generally how that's said, nor kind of significantly heavied armoured formations, based on the intelligence we have, and that our primary effort is to scoot down this road. Now, I also admit that breaking hard left and going this track is also quite gamey, because you think, well, in reality they'd try and just push down the main road. So maybe we're kind of in some kind of halfway house. But that's the current plan. Let's get tanks in this berm. Let's see what we can see. Hopefully engage at range, utilise our, probably more our Shermans at range with our 75s. A little Stuart, so they can get some work done. And then with a view of trying to break out and make our way along this ridge line. Most points are for survival, so I need to remember to try and focus on that. I also need to make a decision where if I'm going to send any forces up along this right hill, which I would love to do. Again, it's a lot of open ground, a lot of risk of bogging, and of small pockets of German infantry popping up Panzerfausts, which was the obviously big fear of the day when it was the organised defence started falling down. But obviously you do get lovely views from up here, dominating the entire valley, and that would be a fantastic fire position, to eradicate any German defences that we're stumbling across. So I don't know. So I'd like to send potentially one of my Shermans up that way, but it does feel a little bit risky. But we shall see. We shall see. I'm not going to race into that. I am going to send a detachment at least part of the way up this hill, just to try and get a bit of a lay of the land, some eyes over there, etc., etc. So that's the general plan. We are going to do some scouting, identify some German positions, fix and destroy where possible, with the main view of trying to push out towards this left flank, and hopefully we don't end up leaving all our tanks bogged in the field. So, shall we just tell what? Let's just get cracking with the first minute. I said I might have fixed those lines, and I didn't. That's fine. It's not perfect, but they'll be okay. I have gone for opened up here with my tank commanders. That one. Better visibility. I think we should be far enough away, unless there's some Germans right here, which is always a possibility. Then they should be pretty unlucky if they're picked off with some random energy fire. And I want the value of their eyesight. I got my timing slightly wrong here, as I was expecting this fellow to go first. So I do not like your behaviour. Huh. I wonder if there's something up here which is impassable for tanks. Which I'm going to guess is a way, given the fact they're all doing crazy, crazy things. Okay. Okay, that's not my finest start to a mission ever. Can we just check that our Sherman has got through this wall without bogging themselves down? He has, he's happy, this is good. And now we have a way all the way through to this field. Well, let's just double check that. Yeah, no, this is all passable by tanks, that's fine. I'd like you gentlemen to where? Don't want you to be too exposed. Getting you somewhere into here might be quite nice, where you can kind of pop up a little bit. First instance, let's just get you actually forward just to this position. Along this hedgerow. Go forward to there. Thank you. Alright, let's have a look what's going wrong here with my stewards. So if I go move, no, you can definitely traverse up this hillside. As far as I was aware, the way hull down commands work was you're supposed to drive along this line until you got line of sight on that point, or if you give them a target command, so if you did this, and then you give them a target at the end of it, they would drive until they could see that target, or reach the end of it. So something like that. And we'll see if that works. You are doing unsensible things. Perhaps I shall just do manually. Do that. Okay, everyone's moving out, and we'll just move the text forward. Sorry, this is a little bit more more management than I tend to like to include at the start of my videos. Oh, you're supposed to be in the truck. Get in the truck, please. Okay, jolly good. Right, see if we can actually get some eyes up here. Oh, and also get rid of these horrible green blocks. Right, that's better, gentlemen. You're a little low, but we can deal with that. Quite a steep bank, I think, might be causing them some problems. And you also need to scoot forward a little bit. That's okay, we've got time, I don't mind while my infantry runs around the place. A bit of effort in finessing these positions, I'd rather do that than totally expose ourselves. Okay, so while I go in faff about with these guys and move my infantry into some better scouting positions, I'll put a cut in. And if and when anything spectacular happens, I'll bring you guys back. So things had been very quiet. Get things kicked off. But unfortunately, as ever, it is my poor, beleaguered scouting forces that bear the brunt of our spotting campaigns. Our eyes of our tanks, which do have some line of sight, not doing much. And the first picture falls. Ah, and it's my officer as well. To some German infantry of some description just in the nook of this hedge. Actually, we're just going to absolutely rattle with HE fire. So disappointing. And then I do get a very interesting spot towards the end of the minute. some kind of truck? I don't know. Peculiar one. Anyway, you are in good position. So, yeah, just use some of your HE. You've got lots. One of your advantages, so please, that's really not where I want you to shoot. Yeah, that's the good target. Smack them up, please. I've got my Stuart in my Sherman here in a bit of a kind of Overwatch position. I'm tempted to actually get you to see if you can't scout that out. So let's pull back. Just hunt along this ridge line, just to see what that is at a reasonable safe distance. Although our scouts haven't spotted anything. You gentlemen are pretty dangerously exposed. Pull you back. In terms of what these gents can see, so they do have line of sight onto that area of the hedgerow where the shots came from. Also didn't spot anything, and they've got reasonable line of sight. Down here, don't quite have that dip. They've got a good line of sight into most of this back area, and we're not really seeing much. Good line of sight's a bit worse actually. Okay, so well, let's just hit the big red button. We'll get some first lovely tank shots under the bridge. We can consider our offensive manoeuvres kicked off. Oh, that's quite a good initial shot. I'm hopeful there's some pretty distressed Germans right now. Don't know who the rifle shot was. Oh, hello. Okay, so it looks like there may be a squad that's been dispersed. It's a dangerous position. We've skylined our Sherman here. I was vaguely confident we weren't going to come up against much in the way of AT assets. You've just got a reasonable amount of HE. I don't want to use it all against this one pixel trooping. I dare say he probably just went to ground there. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch out from HE, probably just into machine gun fire against these two positions. I'm going to leave him where he is, and I'm actually going to pull back these two Shermans here, and we're going to start getting positioned to go across as our scout moves forward. Probably bring another one, in fact I'll bring them all up onto this saddle just to help support, and then get ready to drive across and take up positions over here. I would like to keep moving out with these scouts, but yeah, slightly conscious about getting shot in the back. Even at this distance. What is this range actually? Ah, okay, it's less than 300 meters. No. I would like to buddy aid my commander, as I always do. We may not have that luxury. So, can you target light there? You can. Can you light? You can actually shoot the hedgerow. That would be appreciated. Good. Okay, I'm going to go to that. If we get any other bits of info, I'll let you guys know. Alright, so we're 10 minutes into an hour now. I just want to bring you back. No, I haven't spotted any more enemy, but I'd obviously got my Shermans. I'm ready to kind of push across with a view of coming this way, so scouts have made it over no issue, no further spots. I wanted to start taking position on this ridge line, getting behind these German positions, which we've just been rinsing with 30 cal fire from our Stuarts. But we've got a little bit of a problem. Apparently it's a problem the game doesn't want to share, because the video capture failed at this point, so I'm going to add this bit in from post. So to kind of condense down the issue, obviously a tank path there across the railway line, and essentially it is impassable. The tank will refuse to move into the action square and instead starts driving off in crazy directions. Now if you hover over terrain, you get with a vehicle, you'll get an indication. You're going to get a green, I think it might be a hexagon, that indicates this is passable, and if you go over something it's impassable, it becomes red with black line through it. And the entire length of that movement order, it indicates that it's passable the whole length, but obviously that's clearly not the case because we can't pass over it. It's not the end of the world. We just have to reverse our tanks back out this field, go under the bridge, and then round the long way, which is not going to really affect us in this campaign, but it's a little bit annoying that feedback is not there. But yeah, I just wanted to share my grievances, so then we'll jump forward a little bit further and actually get back to the proper commentary. Alright, so another 6 minutes further along, and a couple of bits and pieces to talk about. No other confirmed enemy spots. We did push our Stuart slightly further into the valley with no real event, I suppose is what I'm looking for. We continue to harass these bits with our 30 cal just because we have, well, you know, large volumes of ammo, although we've burnt through a couple of thousand, so I'm going to have to stop that sooner rather than later. And the first two of our Shermans have made it across the field with no incident. You see the hole in the wall we punched through, and our third one is on the way. A couple of scout teams just to make sure we don't run into any infantry ambushes. You know, generally pretty straightforward, good combined arms progress, if a bit on the dull side. However, our scouts up on this right-hand flank, hill, whatever you want to call it, have spotted, I take that back, have heard some armour, or some armoured vehicles. And interestingly, if you look, you know, as the minute progresses, it's clearly making its way along this track, which actually gives us a pretty good opportunity. So, assuming this German fellow continues to follow the track, and we will have to get these guys to just hide in the long grass as these vehicles go by. Assuming they do follow the track over here, we may get sight of them actually up on this ridge line, but certainly as they kind of continue along, at some point we're going to make them out, which is good. So we should drive into our eye line. Now, we can double check that actually. I was going to say, I'm not 100% sure how good visibility is. Well, let's... Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned this resolved itself into knocked out infantry transport, but it did. But that's neither here nor there. Let's quickly jump into command phase, because I did want to check you and where you can target up on this road. Oh, now that's surprising. Why can you not see this road? You're claiming the wall is in the way. Really? I refuse to believe that. I go up onto the road. No, those blue lines go just by the way. Now it may be just like a limitation in distance, because we're happy 550, 600, and then it kind of goes away. It doesn't feel like it's particularly far. In fact, can I find somewhere far away you can see? No, struggling. Okay. Certainly, no, you've got line of sight on that ridge line. I don't care what the what the tool says. You should definitely be able to see up onto that ridge line if and when you come across. So let's pull ourselves forward to say just a scooch more, and then let's face off in this direction. See what we can find. I'm going to get you, gentlemen. Scoot along to right here and see if you can get some eyes down that hill. I'm not sure the angle's great. I must have checked it. Look. And how long have I got really? We have time. Assuming they're moving at roughly the same rate we are. I would like to bring you into support as well. I want to make sure, and yeah, it's a fair point actually. Let's make sure. I'm actually going to get you to move again. So you are facing forward. You know, best front forward, and more importantly, best armour forward. I would also like to get your heads out. Well, that may attract some fire from some previously unknown infantry positions. But given that our infantry pixel trooping haven't attracted that fire, I'm going to risk it. Stuarts, I think we're just going to keep their heads down for now. Yeah, we'll keep the 30 cal going for one more minute. We'll see what resolves itself here. Yeah, you gentlemen, I think. We're going to get to this point, and then you're going to hide. And, yeah, tell you what, why don't we run this one live? I know we're getting... I'd like to get a little bit further in so things actually happen. And I'm also just going to scoot this truck forward. Just so it's kind of, maybe into it here. Just a little more hidden, just in case we don't get line of sight of them. I wouldn't want to get somewhere like here and get some unbelievable long shot and annihilate all my infantry. You know, combat mission things. Okay. Let's hit the button, let's see what happens. Contact continues to move. I mean, obviously if the infantry gets spotted, they are toast. Don't think my Stuarts are in any danger unless he peels off the road. Nope, we got contact on him again. We'll go look at that in a minute. Does seem to be just quite happily making his way along, which is okay. Let's see, once he gets to it here, we should have line of sight. Feeling that I can leapfrog with this third Sherman to get a little bit further forward, although we run the risk of being spotted. Yeah, I mean, you gotta think, when it gets to here, I can quite clearly see them. They should be able to quite clearly see me. Okay. Oh, I meant to go back and check that unit. But it's showing our frustrating ability to not, or lack of ability, knock these fellows out. Let's get you coming all the way around. Then like so. Yeah, presented a nice troop to the front. Let's see what we can find. I will have you scooch along, keep our scouting going. And then at some point I'm going to have to change what I'm doing with these chaps because they're rapidly depleting their 30 cal ammo. Ideally I wanted these to come up and support the scouting on the right flank, which we may do if we can knock whatever this is out. Just hoping it's not, you know, like a Panther or something, because our 75s would have a pretty bad day against that. Okay, let's just keep rolling with this. I'd quite like to see if we can get a spot and or maybe an engage. Now we are static, he is moving. That should give us, and we're opened up, theoretically should give us the edge in spotting. I know that's not always how the theory works in combat mission. I mean, he should be nice. Come on, how are we not seeing this? Really? Colour me skeptical. So we think the tank is essentially here. And yet no one has any eyes whatsoever. I mean, I get that you say you don't, which I'm struggling to believe. Again, maybe it's just a distance thing, but I don't remember that being an issue before. I am unsure. I'm going to give you guys a wee cheeky target arc. You're not going to be able to see him from there, but I'm going to get to move maybe along to say here. I'm not entirely sure what to do about these Shermans. We are genuinely unable to engage, despite this seemingly fantastic position. Right, why don't I move the back one further along? Get back on the road for most of it. Let's minimise our chances of bogging down, although I'm now worried that obviously driving along exposing my flank, and I'm going to be caught the way I'm hoping to catch our German friends here. If you could leap over to that position, I'd appreciate it. I mean, the weather is terrible. It might just be taking us a bit of time to make the spot. But we shall see. Alright, let's stay... should we stay... Yeah, let's stay live for 1 minute. Let's mention he stopped his only thing. And I'm just leery of his eyes suddenly being better than mine. It could also be he's just got so far away we've lost the sound contact. That's true. As the last known position, but he's actually trundling down here. Peculiar and worrisome state of affairs. Alright. Okay, right, well, we've got to sort some kind of a plan out here. I'm going to keep advancing with you to see if you can get a confirmation, even though it may be your downfall. I need some info. We've got Sherman taking an advanced position, and then I do think I'm just going to have to keep one overwatch while I advance the other two. And yeah, just using my infantry here as a bit of a scout and shield. For that forward position, that would be ideal. Leave the tanks where they are for just now, and I think we'll try and stop shooting this up. Maybe I think it is time. I'm going to hold my Stuarts here. Okay, I don't know how long it's going to take to find this guy, so I'm going to put a bit of a cut in, and we'll come back if and when we get a little bit more advanced. We're a few cagey moments further down the line, and we've finally found some Germans heading up on this left flank. Seems to be a handful of infantry with a machine gun. Oh, it's actually a machine gun detachment. And unfortunately, our brave and bold scouts took one on my chin. So hopefully he can just dive in here, get his head down behind the wall. Meanwhile, I'm bringing up a Sherman to introduce them to some HE. Well, we leave these two on Overwatch. I've also decided we can't just sit and stare at this potential sound contact forever and a day, so I've started bringing my Stuart, and I think I'm just going to swing everyone up over this left objective. I'm not entirely sure what to do with this. So obviously my scouts have got this far, which isn't enough to see what might be here. I'm loath just to march them any closer for obvious reasons. I have toyed with the idea of maybe trying to pull them back in and around kind of this direction, to maybe see if we can't get something of a sight. Perhaps even kind of start coming through this field, so when they do get a spot they can just duck down. And I think I'll probably end up doing that. I'll swing them all around to see if we just so we can know what we're up against, really. You were leaving some tanks in Overwatch just in case, but not a lot seems to be happening. We did pick up, I got this left Stuart dart forward to pick up phase line monkey, or report line monkey. Nothing much happened there. And so be it. So one thing I have thought about, though, while I map out this route. Hop over that fence. This way, hop over this fence. I think you should be relatively safe, he says, based on very little. And hop your way into here. That we might just leave these 3 men behind. You know, they can get picked up by the follow-on forces. That's fine and dandy, really. We'll push our rest of our infantry out in this direction. Just because I'm not sure we're going to be able to get these guys out and down without getting them killed. But that's where we are. Will you get in position this turn? Maybe not. Well, let's see if we can find out whether our friend here survives. Oh, and do you have any movement orders? You should. Advancing in this direction, thank you. Why not? Alright, we'll see if our good picture over here. Oh, no. Ah, our poor scouts. Often is the way. I probably got a little bit comfortable with darting forward in reasonably large leaps due to lack of activity. I had wondered whether once I get this line whether that would trigger any new AI behaviour. It doesn't seem to be the way. When I finally move this truck over, which I'll do probably shortly, I'm going to again get some Stuarts just to suppress here, just in case the machine gun gentleman is not completely out of action. I don't want him opening up an MG40 on the side of my truck as it drives around. That would make life very unpleasant. And in fact, I'm tempted to push one of the Stuarts into this field just to make sure. Yeah, it's a little bit close for comfort. Yeah, actually, maybe not. Maybe we won't do that. Be conscious about what might happen as we get close to this. Okay, I'm gonna put a cut in there. I do want to maybe finance this before we call it a day. So I'm gonna keep shuffling things around. I'm gonna blow up this position with my tanks, and I'm gonna try and bring the truck full of infantrymen and the other Stuarts up onto this hillside. So hopefully next time I come back, we'll have a visual contact of that tank. There's one thing I said I was worried running into. It was fixed AT guns, which I can hopefully wouldn't have any time to prepare and defend since we were retreating. And you saw a shot fire over the top. I had thought maybe we were going to get away with one. And there's the follow-up answer. So rarely do you ever get away with one in commission. And yeah, we've lost our first Sherman tank. So we're going to have to get our infantry to do a little bit of work, I think. Yeah, a little bit disappointing. But c'est la vie. Why we wanted that screen of scouts in the first place, and unfortunately in alleviating the machine gun to help the scouts, we've exposed ourselves to an anti-tank gun. Unfortunately, that is the way that war goes sometimes. We have started our Shermans heading over in this direction. There's some German infantry which we spot on this field, so clear them out, not exposing ourselves to the gun, which is good. And our trucks made it across the field without any issue, which is nice. We're going to have him continue to push forward, and then we're going to dismount some more infantry. Come over and nestle up between our Shermans, and then we are going to get everybody out. Not that everybody is particularly big. Yeah, let's get you out. In fact, I'll dismount off camera. And then we can move the rest of our Shermans over in this direction. Stuart, sorry, over in this direction. I'm less concerned about any kind of, concentration on destroying the Germans. I'd rather just get through, get off, get out. I mean, yes, it would be nice to take a handful of Jerrys with me, especially whatever that blooming tank is, which is causing me a lot of frustration. But I'm trying to focus on the mission at hand, which is get my troops out of here and towards Amiens. That is what we are going to focus on. Although we're one tank down, and it won't take me many more tanks to get beyond the 30% casualty, so I've really got to play this careful. Plenty of time on the clock, we're pretty far forward. We don't have that much further to go, to be perfectly honest. So if we can take out this gun, we should be able to clear the rest of the town, and we just have to keep an eye on the road in case this armoured friend decides to get involved. Right, that is probably where we're going to have to call this one to a close. A little bit of a not huge amounts happened there, to be honest. Lots of, like, maybe, but not a lot of outcome. So we are currently down 3 pixel drippings. That's our scout team here and 1 from there. We do have, what did we have? 10, 20, 4, 27. We had 30 infantry to start with. So we also need to keep our losses of infantry down to 10. We don't want to lose more than 1 Sherman, and we don't want to lose more than 1 Stuart. So we've already reached our maximum allotted losses of Sherman. So let's keep it that way. And we'll just hope for the Germans don't have too many more surprises. But yeah, at this point to run into that gun, I don't know if it's actually an AT gun or if it's going to be like an AA gun in that role, or what it's going to be. We shall find out. I need to scout it out and then find out how to take it out, which could be challenging because I don't have huge amounts of fire. Like I've got no indirect fire. Infantry would be also useful to get close, provided they don't get Muller doing so. Likewise with tanks, so that's maybe a problem for next time. Anyway, I'm starting to witter now, so we'll leave it be. I'm afraid this whole mystery tank's going to have to wait till next time as well. Yeah, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more action then. So yeah, thanks for being with me. Hope you enjoy it. I'll catch you then. Cheerio!